I believe that when a woman loses respect for you, she stops loving you.
And why would she lose respect for you? Like, what would cause
Maybe you're
that?
emotional. Maybe you don't provide in the way that you should. Maybe because you don't provide, she is having to go take on a masculine role out in society, possibly even working for another man. And now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a woman in the workplace. Clearly, you know how I feel about it. But I think you need to have a strong understanding of a woman in her actual true nature, not the agenda that's going on right now, but a woman's true nature. I think a woman that is not influenced by bad bitch culture or by promiscuous culture, etc., most often, most times, and even the girls that are strikingly beautiful that make a whole bunch of money, I think ultimately they'd like to find a man that they can look up to, that they can submit to, as unpopular as that might be, that they can support on his mission and be a support system to that mission. And they would like a man that would be a leader to them. And I think ultimately they would like to be a wife, and I think they'd like to raise children. I don't believe that a huge majority of women want to have these crazy careers. I think there's a lack of good men out there and they have no choice. Even the OnlyFans girls.
One thing that I'm getting kind of stuck on out of all of that stuff would be the emotionless thing.
Not emotionless.
Or, okay, sure, maybe not emotionless, but not super emotional, right? Would
not
that be more
super. Yeah.
appropriate?
So, for example, if a woman knows that she can upset you easily and that you're going to show emotion and act like a child, I believe there should be a bit of dissonance between a man and a woman. Not that men are better, but she should look up to him in some way. Respect, right? If she can do the smallest thing and bring him down to almost a child level where they're going to argue. I don't argue with girls, ever.
So what do you do if you get in a disagreement with someone that you're with?
Then we can sit knee to knee and have an adult conversation. But there's going to be no yelling.
So what's the difference between that and an argument? Is an argument
a guy that punches a hole in a wall?
Okay.
A guy that slams a door. You know, a guy that can't sit and be with her. You know, if I'm with a girl, I look at it as my job to be her emotional, stable outlet. I've said on many podcasts, I believe a man's job is to be the mountain that a woman's emotional waves crash into. Women are more emotional than men. And when men start acting very emotional, in a lot of ways, I believe he's telling that woman that he can't emotionally handle the situation. And then she loses respect. Look, if he has a hard time at work or something's going wrong or he takes a loss, I don't think she's going to leave him. But I think if he acts like a child and very, very emotional, I think she'll start to get nervous and panic because obviously he cannot handle the situation. I do think it's very important for a man to be stoic. Am I saying that a man can't have feelings? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that he should be the strong one. I believe that the genders are different. They're equal in different ways, and what loads their value are completely different things. And I think that's completely okay. And I know that if there are more strong men out there, then women could allow themselves to let go and be more feminine. And that's why I really quite enjoy helping young men become strong in every way.
What about the hypergamy aspect? Because it does seem like there is this narrative that women are just going to up and leave as soon as they could find something better.
I don't think that's always true.
Okay.
But I do think frame is very important. Like very non-popular thing for me, I've said in the past, is that my girl doesn't go on girls' trips. You know, I'm not letting my girl go to Vegas and get drunk with a bunch of girls in a club when there's a bunch of dudes buying bottles all around them. Why would I put her in that position?
So we had the same conversation with Fresh and Fit.
Yep.
I said that if my fiance wants to go with their friends, it's a birthday party
Yep.
and it's at a club, it's a girls thing, I wouldn't be bothered by it.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the situation and the intentions. If it's like, hey, a random Friday night and it's like a recurring thing all the time, it's like, oh, but you're not invited, but there's going to be other guys, but you can't. Then you kind of feel that there's something maybe up. But I think there's so many innocent times where it's like, hey, just going out and having a good time.
Yeah, cool, man. I mean, I think it's different strokes for different people. And I understand where you're coming from. And I don't think that you're wrong. For me, it's a no-go. Did you know what I've noticed? When I put hard lines in with a woman, particularly around even something like that, I find that they get really turned on by it. It's the weirdest thing, but I think it's the protective part that you're showing. And I think a lot of women want to be accounted for.
To me, it seems like they want to be desired. And by you doing that or saying those things or putting that boundary, it to me conveys that you're valuing them and you don't want to lose them.
And you want to protect it. And you're going to aggressively protect it. And that's the other part about,
to me, it's just
it's very primal. It's like the fighting thing.
It doesn't seem like quite like protecting. It's more so like I really value and they're very desired to you.
Right.
They're very wanted.
Right.
That, I guess, is the way.
And so in that particular scenario, if a woman is just flat out saying, no, I'm going no matter what, she's going to put on her sexiest dress. She's going to put on a push-up bra. She's going to go out. And she's going to look better that night than she probably looked all week at your house around other men. Probably because women's attention is currency. If you really understand women's nature, they like attention. They do. That's okay. But for a woman to go out, dress up, have her boobs out, have her heels on, have her legs showing in a club full of men that are nowhere near me, it's a no-go for me.
But how is that different from a guy
I'll give you a note.
Wearing a nice watch, driving a nice car, in shape, well-fitted clothes, walking outside, go to the mall? And just, why is he doing that? Is that to impress other guys? Is that to get female attention?
Probably all of the above. But I think there's a better example of this. Women that put a lot like bikini photos on Instagram. If you're with, especially, dude, if you're married and you have your titties out on Instagram, that's a no-go. And I feel like men mess up with the frame part of that. Because if you're putting yourself online in that way, you are trying to garner attention in some way. And you're trying to get that attention outside your husband. And so I can tell you that is something I absolutely wouldn't put up with either. And it's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of different ways I feel like a man can get what Byron or Walt or even Maya would call a shit test from a woman, you know, but being friends with your ex, guy friends in general. There's not a guy friend that exists that doesn't want to sleep with a woman. If it were the case, then why don't guys have fat girlfriends? They generally don't. You don't see, you know a guy that has a friend that's a girl is obese? I don't. And if the opportunity was presented to that man, he would sleep with her 1,000% of the time. Guys play friend zone game all the time. So I don't put up with any girl that I'm seeing. See exes or guy friends. I just don't do it.
Your logic is to protect the woman. You will draw these lines in the sand, establish these boundaries in order to protect the woman or to protect the relationship.
Well, the relationship, you know, I mean, outside of thinking she's going to get mugged, I mean, the very obvious thing is the relationship. And it doesn't mean I don't trust her. Andrew's very famous for saying, I trust the locks on my Lamborghini, but I don't park it in the hood. I trust my girl, but I ain't going to put her in a club in Vegas.
But see, I would have also confidence in her, let's say 8 friends that she's going out with. If they're all going to be looking over each other, assuming that you know the friend group,
Bro, one of those girls wants dick bad. One of those girls, maybe 2 out of the 8, are definitely willing to cheat. And that's an energy just like the one we talked about with the hiring process. I'm telling you, girls' night, wild wine, woo, titties out, everybody's looking good. No, bro, I'm not doing it.
It's just, this is so far outside of like
I'm not doing it.
What I'm curious is, here's an argument that I heard that actually sounds really great, which was, if you can't be the man where she will always, independent of every other variable, pick you over every other person that exists on this planet, then why is it in your best interest to continue to be with her? If you have 2 perfect people that are independent in their own regard, they're making good money, they are fully self-sufficient, doing their own thing, and they choose to be with each other even though they're perfect on their own, that is a relationship that is not based off of any needs. It's not based off of, hey, like, you know, I'll push and pull, give, get. It's just based off of, I like you, or I love you for who you are and nothing more, nothing less. Let's be together.
Cool. And I would follow up to that and say, in 2023, that is the archetype of what a couple should be. Do you agree? Like, people are trying to be two individuals.
That's one of them. Yeah.
That come, like, I think it's a very popular one,
Mm-hmm.
and it don't work. The divorce rates are higher than they've ever been. There's more single people. And if you follow Rolo at all, he said I think it's like by 2040, like half of the women will be childless and not married. Doesn't work.
Now, I do want to say the divorce rates, because that was something I've looked into in the past.
Right.
And I even go so far as to be like, statistically, what has the highest divorce rates? Usually it's marrying young, but it's also what raises it to the 50% is the second, third, fourth marriages, which have like an 80% failure rate. From what I've seen, people who have an education, who make a certain amount of money, I think it was more than like $80,000 a year, who marry above the age of 25, I think the divorce rate was more like 25, 30%. It's still high,
Yeah.
but still less than the 50% when you account for all these other variables. Now, the other thing is that maybe they haven't been married long enough to see the divorce, but they are marrying later with a lower divorce rate so far from what we've seen.
Either way, I do believe in gender roles, and I don't believe in suppressing a person, but I also believe in not setting them up to be put in a bad position. That's all.